Well, I guess the first thing that I'll talk about here is composting. Um, I know from my personal experience that part of why I'm making these videos is because I have a difficult time getting things started, even though I'm interested in a lot of stuff. And I do a lot of gardening and things like that, and I've done it in the past, so I figured composting was a very logical direction to go in. So I've been composting things for many years now. I wanted to show just the entire process, so this video series that I'll be posting here will be updated. There will be periodic updates posted showing exactly what's going on, because I like to see things go from start to finish, and that helps me get things started. You can compost almost anything, and I mainly just compost my yard waste and kitchen waste. Anything that's plant-based, from coffee grounds and filters, vegetable trimmings, cardboard, all kinds of stuff can be composted. But mainly here I use my yard waste, which consists mainly of grass clippings. So over the course of this video, I'll just show the progression of what's going on, and I'll make periodic updates. I'll show you my compost pile and the various things that I put in it. I would say the one biggest piece of advice for composting that comes to mind for me is just that you have to keep going at it. There's lots of devices that I've tried to build and use, and none of them really make up for the work that it takes to do it. So really, I would say that the biggest thing is that you just have to be religious about it and just go with the old-fashioned pile. I personally use a containment with just a wire mesh that goes around it that you can acquire at Home Depot or something like that. So I'll show you guys what's going on, and hopefully this will help me over time stay more motivated with doing my stuff and keeping on top of it, because I really should turn my compost much more than I do. All right, so here we go. So over here in the corner of my yard is my little composting system that I have. So this is an older batch that I also need to keep turning, but it's been allowed to dry out here, so it's hot during the summer. So I need to stay more on top of this. And this is the newer stuff. You can see that this is just the yard clippings that I cut the other day. And so I need to turn those in. But you can see there's coffee grounds in here, coffee filters, eggshells. If you want to crush all that stuff up, it makes it break down a lot faster if you can crush it or throw it in a food processor or something. You got like clay turfus that I sifted from my bonsai trees. Those will have to be a future video of some kind. I also have just shredded trees and things, tree cuttings and wood chips and things from where I've trimmed the trees around my yard. It's not a very big yard, it's a modest sized house, but I haven't used my green bin here at this house since I moved in 3 years. So I've been living here for 3 years and I've never used the green bin. I've been able to compost everything from my yard, and I turn it into garden soil that go over here into my garden boxes over there. So it's a really good way of, at least if you're just to get rid of your yard waste and to not have to throw it into a landfill. It's actually pretty good at controlling all of it. And if you're doing any gardening the way I do, or that'll be another subject of another video that I need to keep up with that a little bit better. It's a great way to utilize resources that you have in your own yard and just not throw them away, because you'll send them to the landfill and they'll just get turned into compost or go into a landfill where people will buy them back from the city if you do it like that, if you put it in your green bin. So yeah, so all you got to do, it's actually pretty simple, is I'm just going to move those two bins and just repile them. So that one will get piled right here, and this one will just get piled right where that one is. And I'll just do a time lapse here. It usually takes about half an hour, 40 minutes to move both of them, and you just move them and wet them down. All right, so here we go. So here's the time lapse. I made it at eight times speed, just so that we wouldn't be sitting here for a half hour watching me shovel yard waste. So as it compacts, the cages can get kind of difficult to take off, but you just got to kind of wiggle them around, and you can see how dry everything is by how dusty everything is as I shovel it with a fork. You can use a shovel or a garden fork, but a pitchfork is pretty nice. So you just shovel it in there and hose it all down. You want to get it pretty good and wet, but you don't want it to be like soggy, really soggy, like sopping wet. But this is pretty dry, so I soak it pretty good between loads. Normally I would just, do pretty gentle misting just to keep it all damp and yeah, not soak it so heavily, but it is extremely dry. And as you'll see afterwards, it still needs more moisture in it. But in a couple of days when I turn it again, that'll dampen it pretty thoroughly as I go in there and turn it all again. The general strategy that you have is trying to move everything to different parts of the pile. So, the bottom goes to the top, the inside goes to the outside goes to the inside, and the top goes to the bottom. On large piles, the bottom can become kind of anaerobic and stinky, so not a lot happens down there on the bottom. And on the outer edges, they dry out pretty quickly depending on your climate. Here in the California Central Valley, it's very hot and dry during the summer, so the outsides and the top get dry relatively quickly, but most of the action is happening on the interior of the pile, about 5 or 6 inches away from the edges, and about 5 or 6 inches down from the top. It will actually get quite hot, and if you're doing this in the winter time, it gets actually very, very warm as you're turning the pile. If it's cold outside, it actually feels really nice as you're doing it. So yeah, as you can see, there isn't really a whole lot to it, and you just kind of shovel it all in there and hose it all down, make sure it's all feeling good and damp. Again, kind of like a dishwashing sponge that's just damp is how you want it, just not soaking, where if you squeezed it, you could squeeze water out. You just want it damp like a used dishwashing sponge, and that's about it. The whole thing takes about 25 or so minutes to turn both of them, so it really doesn't take me very long if I just get out there and do it. And so yeah, there isn't really a lot to it. Give them one last hose down and we are done. So here we are. Here's the finished deed. So yeah, as you can see, this is the newer one of the two, and you can see there's a lot more actual grass. This one has a lot more decomposing to do. You'll also see that if you dig down, a lot of the pile is actually still kind of dry, but that will solve itself with a couple more turns. I'll turn in 2 days and do a time lapse of that. And so I just need to get moisture back into the pile. You can see here that this one is considerably more broken down. The larger bits of wood haven't broken down yet because I've been lazy and I haven't gotten out here and turned it. I allowed it to dry out. But you can see that it's considerably more broken down than the other one here. There's still a lot of grass and things in it, but that'll solve itself as it sits and I turn it over and over again. But you can see here that, here's coffee filters and things that were inside the pile and they're breaking down. This was probably paper towels in here. The thing about the grass, though, you really have to hit it hard, like turn it every day for the first 4 days or so, because it has a tendency to mat like this. It'll turn into these compacted, stinky balls of rotting grass initially. So you really got to stay on top of grass, just lawn clippings if that's what you're mainly doing. If you have access to a small shredder and you have trees or other things on your property, you can do stuff like this and just grind them all up into just your own bark mulch and things. and you can put that in between loads from your lawnmower, and that'll roughly take care of it. But yeah, grass can be a little bit of a pain at the beginning, and it smells pretty bad too. It'll smell like your rotting green waste can for a day or two before it starts to smell like dirt. But this stuff, it just it smells like dirt. I can smell it from here, and it in about 4 or 5 days it begins to really smell like just good soil. So I encourage everybody to give it a shot, because as you can see, it only took me probably about 15 or 20 minutes to move both of these piles. And once this pile is done, I'll just leave it in this corner, and it'll just sit there and season for the rest of the summer and into the winter. And this one will just continue to get moved back and forth between this corner and this corner until it's done, and then it gets added over there. And usually just these 2 baskets get me through the whole summertime, and then production really dies down in the winter, and you just let it sit and just finish rotting itself off before it goes straight into your garden. It's great stuff. Well, hopefully this is all helpful for you. Again, if you watched the channel introduction, the whole point of all of this is to just show an average guy just doing these things, and just showing that anybody can do this if they really want to. Again, I would say that the biggest single roadblock to doing this is just that you have to put in the time every few days to just go out and turn it. You have to be willing to get a little bit of dirty, a little bit dirty, not a little bit of dirty. And you'll see some bugs and things like that. But if you can tolerate those kinds of things, it's very rewarding to just basically keeping everything on your yard and utilizing everything from the place where you live to help you out with all of your hobbies. Again, thank you for watching, and hopefully you found this all helpful. Hopefully I'll see you again.